What's up, guys? Are you welcoming you to the NFL season week 1 DFS main slate preview? Let's get it going. Let's ready to win some cash and maybe win a GPP. I don't know. We'll see. I'm ready. Tom Brady's ready. The Pats are ready. They're not on the main slate, which is why I can't talk about any of those players, but I'm amped for that game. I'm amped for the NFL season week 1. Let's bring it, baby. All right. Sound like Rob Gronkowski. All right. So let's go with the first game, Rams at Panthers. Jared Goff on the road. No, 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 no. No thanks. His road splits are absolutely terrifying from last year compared to his home splits. His home touchdown interception ratio last season was 22-3. On the road, 10-9. His yards per attempt fell from 9 to 7.5, and his passing yards per game fall from 342 to 243. That is a big knockoff for Jared Goff, so he's someone that I'm fading in redraft leagues and in DFS for week 1 is Jared Goff. Looking at his receivers, the receiver that I'm most hesitant about is Brandon Cooks. Again, his numbers, similar to Goff's, also fall off on the road. His receptions go from 6.6 at home with 95 receiving yards to 3.4 receptions and 55 receiving yards on the road. I do think, though, that Robert Woods is a viable cash option and someone that you should definitely continue to start playing in your lineups for regular fantasy football. I think that Cooper Kupp is a very interesting GPP play because I think that he is a player that the Rams actually kind of use as like a move tight end. That's kind of the position that he sees him. And the Panthers actually gave up a lot of red zone targets to the tight end position last season. People are scared because of the ACL injury, but all reports out of camp that our Cooper Kupp's good to go. He looked better than ever. So why not throw it at Cooper Kupp? And I mean, he's Jared Goff's best receiver, arguably best target, and he's the cheapest one. So if you're going to play that Rams carousel, I like Cooper Kupp to be the guy that you put your stamp on. Looking back onto the Panthers side, Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore, yes, the hype train, a lot of guys are high on these players, but at the same time, we have not really seen these guys actually produce that much in the NFL. DJ Moore flash, Curtis Samuel flash, so I don't really like them from a cash standpoint in DraftKings or in FanDuel. I do like them more as, tournament plays, but again, they're going to be heavily owned, and I'm not really sure that, I can confidently say one is going to do so much better than the other. And also, they're playing the Los Angeles Rams, so they have a lot of good cornerbacks. Aqib Talib, he's a really good cornerback. Marcus Peters got burned consistently last year, but we know that he is a pretty good corner. So, again, I can't necessarily tell you exactly which one of these receivers is going to produce. So, for me, I'm not necessarily going to take that risk with these two Carolina wide receivers. I do, however, like Greg Olsen as someone that kind of could be a target, someone not to ignore for sure, because he was the go-to receiver with Cam. He's shown the chemistry and he's healthy right now. That's the biggest thing I think from week 1 is play guys that that have long-term injury concerns week 1, because this will probably be the most that they're healthy, except Jordan Reed because he's already out. The last guy, and on that topic, is Todd Gurley. Play Todd Gurley in GPPs. Literally, people are going to be afraid to play this guy, but this is literally the healthiest he's going to be. So I'm going to play Todd Gurley a lot in DFS. I think Christian McCaffrey is a great play in cash games. He's going to get all the targets, all the receptions. So I like Christian McCaffrey in cash, play Todd Gurley in GPPs. However, from a correlation standpoint, don't actually play them together in GPPs. Doing more research, and we found that when two running backs kind of go off together in the same game, it makes the game slower paced. So less plays, less really high upside on those terms of kind of looking at the game from a game theory standpoint. So definitely don't want to play both in GPPs. Looking at the next game, Redskins and Eagles. My guy Jordan Reed, he's not going to play. So Vernon Davis, punt play at tight end, bring it on. Let's go. For cash, it's Carson Wentz. You got to play Carson Wentz in your fantasy redraft leagues. He's going to be a lock. I like him a lot. He's playing a Redskins defense that is not that great. Wentz has played really well when he's played the Redskins in the past. Last season, he averaged 296 passing yards in games at home with 10-3 touchdown ratio. He's better at home. In his 3 straight games against the Redskins, Wentz has averaged 296 passing yards, 2.3 touchdowns, 1 interception. And I would stack him with Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz, the last 4 home games against the Redskins, Ertz has averaged 11 targets, 9 receptions, 106 receiving yards. And also, my boy, wide receiver Deshaun Jackson is a killer a hashtag killer in week 1 of the NFL season. So there's some cool stats I found about Deshaun Jackson. So outside of 2017 and 2015, where he did not play week 1 or was hurt, Jackson's numbers are astounding in week 1. He has 5 100-yard receiving games during week 1 and has received at least 9 targets in 7 of his week 1 contests. And we all know about that revenge game factor, baby. That's all about Deshaun. Last year against the Eagles, Jackson went 4 for 4 for 129 receiving yards with a touchdown as a member of the Bucs. And in 2016, as a member of the Redskins, Jackson had 7 receptions for 157 yards and a touchdown in 2 games against the Eagles. So if you're going to buy into that revenge game narrative, put in Deshaun Jackson. I actually like Deshaun Jackson in cash with Carson Wentz, kind of give you some high upside with your cash lineup with Carson Wentz. But you can also play Carson Wentz naked in those cash lineups. As for the Redskins, I'm not really going to love anyone. I would say Trey Quinn is a guy that's an option because the Redskins are probably going to fall behind in this game, giving Trey Quinn kind of the green light to catch those slot targets. Bills at Jets, another game I'm not really too interested in. I will say, though, that Jamison Crowder looks like a guy who could get a lot of targets. So, again, another cash receiver that you may want to pay down for. Robbie Anderson is dealing with a calf injury, so I'm not so sure what his role will be. The Bills have a very strong secondary on the outside, and Sam Darnold has heavily targeted the slot. He actually targeted the slot 35% of the time last year, which was 5th most in the NFL. At the Bills, you got wide receiver John Brown. He's another guy that's a big play threat. We saw last year with Joe Flacco, he was like one of the top wide receivers. It wasn't until Lamar Jackson took over that the offense really kind of took a turn for the worse for John Brown, and his numbers basically absolutely tanked. So that's someone that I am kind of trying to buy into. Who I'm going to fade is Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell started out really slow after his first time that he held out with the Steelers, and I expect to see the same. Traditionally, the Jets and Adam Gase have run a slow-paced offense, so I'm not really crazy about starting running backs in a slow-paced offense. That even if he does receive a lot of volume, I'm just not so sure that has high upside for me, at least in week 1. So I'm fading Le'Veon Bell, buying in Jamison Crowder, and buying John Brown. Falcons at Vikings. Pay the man. Julio Jones got paid. And I think that Adam Thielen is another guy who can really make a big difference in this game. These are 2 receivers that I like stacking together in GPPs. They're both more expensive. Julio's right near the top. Thielen's not as expensive, but still a upper echelon where there's a lot of value on the slate. So I really like these 2 guys. Adam Thielen has crushed in games where Stephon Diggs has missed. And Stephon Diggs has just struggles so hard when he comes in with injuries, whether he's questionable. Everything historically about Stephon Diggs is basically, if he's injured at all, you can't play him. And with such a consolidated target share that the Vikings run, it's all about Adam Thielen, baby. All about Adam Thielen. Get him in your lineup, and Julio just got paid. I was a little worried. I was sweating it out a little bit, and then I got the notification. Oh, Julio got paid. He's going to show everybody this week against Xavier Rhodes, one of the top corners in the NFL, despite the fact that he's coming off his worst season to date. Julio Jones is going to go off this week. He's a guy that, in the right circumstances, can literally put up 50 points. So, Julio Jones, put him in your DraftKings lineups with Adam Thielen. I like that part of that game stack. Those 2 players right there. Matt Ryan's the 8th cheapest quarterback on the slate. So again, you can stack Julio Jones with Matt Ryan. Makes a lot of sense. And Austin Hooper's a really cheap tight end to target for cash games. He averaged 10.5 fantasy points per game on the road last season. So he's another guy that I really like. I would not stack Julio and Austin Hooper together. Again, more research kind of showing that the correlation between those 2 guys is actually it doesn't flow very well. So you want to fade those guys. Next thing here, we got the Chiefs at the Jaguars. So in this game, we've got a lot of, and we saw my boy Christian McCaffrey there. He's going to go off. Chiefs at Jaguars, we have Nick Foles. He's a sneaky play. He's a cheap quarterback, and he's really capable of exposing bad defenses. We saw it last year against the Texans. He was able to expose them, and the Chiefs defense is not great, and they don't play great on the road. Last season, they allowed the most passing yards per game, 325.4. And stacking Foles with the likes of a D.D. Westbrook is basically a match made in DFS heaven. D.D. Westbrook should be in a lot of lineups this week. He's a really great play. slot receiver. Nick Foles heavily targets the slot. Even in the preseason, we saw Foles targeting the slot. So D.D. Westbrook, put him in your cash lineups. I think he's a great play there. If you want to pivot off of GPPs, it's really your best gets at DJ Chark or Chris Conley. I'm not going to buy into the Chris Conley revenge game as much as I would with the Deshaun Jackson, so I'm going to go DJ Chark. I think DJ Chark, he's freak athletic, second round pick last year. He's got speed on the outside, and I think he can make a big play. So let's go with DJ Chark at 3,300 on DraftKings. He's real cheap. So let's bring it on. And I can't buy Chris Conley. I just don't think he's that good. I mean, the Chiefs, he had a chance last year to produce, and he couldn't do it with Mahomes. So I'm just saying, I don't know if I can buy into that again. I would say, though, something I definitely want to buy into is Leonard Fournette. And something actually I forgot to mention on the Falcons-Vikings game is Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is a lock this week. Play him in cash. He's a lock. The Falcons cannot stop pass-catching running backs. If you've played DFS, if you've watched football, you saw the Super Bowl with the Patriots against the Falcons. They can't stop running backs that catch passes. Dalvin Cook is going to eat this week. He's really cheaply priced at $6,000 on DraftKings, so go get Dalvin Cook, put him in your cash lineups. But I wouldn't play him in GPPs because he's going to be heavily owned for that reason. So to pivot off that, go to a guy like Leonard Fournette, who is actually priced higher than Dalvin Cook, but he's fully healthy. He's, again, going back to the narrative, if he's healthy now, this is probably the healthiest he's ever going to be. So continue to play those guys in your lineups. I mean, make a lineup all based on that. That's all you got to do. So Leonard Fournette, here we go. He is good to go there. We saw last year when these two teams played, but when they did play in 2018. So the former Jaguar TJ Yeldon went 8 receptions for 69 yards and a touchdown the last time the Jaguars faced the Chiefs. That could be a floor for Fournette, honestly, in this game. So I like Fournette. You can even play him in cash too. If you want to not pay up for like a Barkley or a McCaffrey, you can go with Fournette, Chubb, and the aforementioned Dalvin Cook. All right. Going on to our next game, mentioning it before, Nick Chubb, again, another lock guy for cash. I'm not worried about the matchup against the Titans, so he is Gucci to go. We also have, I really like Delaney Walker on the Titans as a player to get. He's 3,500 on DraftKings, and he's Mariota's go-to guy. And again, coming off an injury, people are going to be like, oh no, but he came off like a broken ankle. So it's like not like a muscle ACL injury. Like, guys come off this stuff pretty good. He had a broken bone. It's not broken anymore, and I think that he's really the only receiver you can probably rely on in that Titans passing game. Maybe Antonio Brown will end up in Tennessee. Who knows? We can only speculate. Smash spot here for the Browns defense because the Titans don't have a left tackle. So Browns defense on your waiver wire, pick them up. If they're DFS, they're a good price. If you don't want to pay up all the way for the Ravens this week, go get the Browns. Beckham is also dealing with a hip injury of some sort, so I like Rashard Higgins as a pivot play, as a punt at receiver. And David Njoku. I would not forget about Njoku. Njoku probably has the highest rate of touchdown equity if Beckham is limited outside of Nick Chubb. I would bet on him scoring a touchdown more or less, probably second behind Chubb if Beckham is limited. So if you project that Baker Mayfield's going to throw 4 touchdowns against the Titans defense, I guarantee one of them is going to go to Njoku, and that's going to give you a great edge at the tight end position in DFS. So look at those Browns receivers. Speaking of Ravens at Dolphins, oh God, the Dolphins. My over on their win total is looking like a terrible bet right about now. But my under on all the Antonio Brown bets is looking absolutely fantastic. Ravens at Dolphins. I kind of like the Dolphins defense. This is really solely based on the fact of the weather. We see teams go into Miami in September and they flop. Miami's actually undefeated at home in September since 2015. So take that what you will. Just know if Miami is wearing white jerseys, making the Ravens wear dark jerseys, buy. Buy the Miami Dolphins defense as the cheapest defense on the slate. Buy. But if not, if they come out wearing their blue and the Ravens are wearing white, pivot. Brian Flores doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know anything about how heat absorbs and, when you wear darker colors. So that's what we got to do there. That's the pivot. And I think that Lamar Jackson is probably going to be really chalky. Same thing with Mark Andrews. Mark Ingram is obviously their favorite, but they're on the road, so weird stuff happens on the road. I'm not really too into Mark Ingram this week. I think there's a bunch of better plays. I don't see him being a lot involved in the passing game, and I see that they could be involving a lot of the other running backs, so they do get a big lead. So it could be Ingram, it could be Gus Edwards, it could be Justice Hill, and Lamar Jackson. So I'm not buying into the Mark Ingram hype for this week. Ryan Fitzpatrick, Albert Wilson seems like the guy if they fall behind by a lot, which people project. Albert Wilson because Fitzpatrick heavily targets the slot, and that's where Albert Wilson is projected to play. Wrapping a couple other things up, guys, before we get out of here. Colts at Chargers. Looking for a sleeper tight end? Dude, give me Eric Ebron. Darwin James is not playing in this game. And everyone thinks the Colts are just garbage now because Andrew Luck is gone. But that's not the case. If you look at the Chargers defense, they don't have Darwin James, like I said. And last season, they allowed the most red zone targets to the tight end position. Oh my God, Eric Ebron is going to catch 3 touchdowns in this game, and he's going to make us all look like idiots for hating on him and him going in like the 14th round of drafts. It's going to happen probably. Like, I really would not knock it. I mean, tight end is so tough to project. So, Eric Ebron is my sleeper tight end this week. Then again, Hunter Henry is another player that is also an option. He'll be more chalky, so I play him in a cash lineup if you want to be on the safer side. But let's be honest, he's because of his cheap side. But let's be honest, there's really no definition of cheap or safe when it comes to the tight end position. Focus on the core plays here. Austin Eckler is a great play in cash at 5,500 as the lead back on the Chargers. Bengals at Seahawks. Chris Carson is in a smash spot. He's probably going to smash because the Bengals defense is literally garbage. He's going to see all the touches. I do like Rashad Penny as well as a pivot play. Like, not many people are going to play Rashad Penny, but if they're really running the ball like crazy on these guys, hey, what if Chris Carson gets hurt? He gets hurt all the time. Throw Rashad Penny in there. Boom. Rashad Penny's more explosive. So Chris Carson doesn't necessarily break one off. You get a lot of carries, but, maybe it's Chris Carson wears down the defense and Rashad Penny kind of provides that pop. So I like Rashad Penny as a GPP play at running back. That's going to be not owned, and I think it's a good matchup, and it's a good play. And remember, they said that the Texans wanted to trade for Rashad Penny, and the Seahawks did not move him, but they would have moved Chris Carson. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. I do like Tyler Boyd and Tyler Lockett as smashes and cash. They're both going to lead the team in their respective teams in targets. Tyler Boyd's going to have probably a good game script, and Lockett, I just don't see that much competition for targets. So I think that when the Seahawks do decide to throw, if they decide to throw, that he is the guy that's going to get the ball, and he's got explosive upside, so he may only need 1 or 2 receptions to kind of make up for it. 49ers at Buccaneers. This is a large game that's going to feature a lot of different players. I think this is a game that you want to attack. Play Jameis Winston, play Jimmy Garoppolo, play the receivers. I really like Deebo Samuel in this game as that kind of 49ers receiver that's flying under the radar. I'm not on Dante Pettis, not Marquise Goodwin. Give me Deebo Samuel all day. Deebo Samuel is a yards after the catch machine, perfectly designed for the Kyle Shanahan offense. And last season, in the first 4 games, the Buccaneers allowed 6 players to go over 60 yards receiving or yards after the catch. I also really like Matt Breida. He's a better receiver than Tevin Coleman is, and he's cheaper, and he's kind of presumed as the backup, even though I think that he could easily outproduce Tevin Coleman, even with less carries, because he will see more game. He will see more work in the passing game. A fade, though, for me is George Kittle. When these two teams played last year, the Buccaneers held Kittle to just 15 yards after the catch, his second lowest output of the season. So if you need to fade a tight end, fade George Kittle. Giants at Cowboys. Cowboys defense, that's really where I'm going to be attacking this game. And I think that Dak is also a viable option in cash games, along with the pre-aforementioned Saquon Barkley, because he gets all the touches. Same thing with Evan Ingram, though Ingram will probably be a little chalky. I wouldn't necessarily pay up for him. And lastly, the last game on the main slate, Lions at Cardinals, a bonanza of sorts. This is the game we've been waiting for. It's Kyler Murray to the NFL. But I've faded Kyler Murray. For this game, it's Matthew Stafford, Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones, and Danny Amendola, maybe. The Cardinals have no secondary, so I'm really honing in on a Stafford, Golladay, Jones stack. I really like that move, and then playing it back with David Johnson. Not necessarily, because I'm not sure which receiver for the Cardinals is going to really benefit. They're going 4 wide, but I know like David Johnson is going to be heavily involved in the passing game and in the running game. And I think that he's the one that you want to target, especially because it's not that much buzz about him. It's all about Kyler Murray, but pound for pound, he's the best player on that Cardinals offense. So I'm going to buy into that. And Kerryon Johnson, I think you can also add him in now to a Lions stack. He could be a GPP difference maker, even if CJ Anderson steals goal line carries. I do think that he could make a really big difference here in this game. So that's going to do it for today, guys. I hope you all win your DFS lineups, and good luck in week 1.